equipments. So we know there are many construction tools na pwede magamit, and ang uban is mag-DIY ra. I mean, not o i-update ra na ako attendance later. Okay. I don't know, last time kay nag-record man ta, but wala siya na, dili siya makita na ko. Di ko sure if delete ni Sir Fornes or what. Yung mag-record ta.
Recording in progress.
Recording na siya. Makita ninyo?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Nag-record na.
Okay, thank you. So, balik ta. We have lots of construction tools and equipments. Ang uban siguro wala na ako na-compile din At nilasa. Wala na sad ko naging mag-PowerPoint. Kanina lang diretso. Maraman gyapon ini upload na ko is PDF format siya. So familiarize lang, and mara na siya terms sa ta marag until midterm siguro ta mag-terms, I think, or more or less siguro kana midterm gid. Equipments are used for excavation, digging of large quantities, placement of construction materials, compacting and leveling. There are four classifications of equipments, construction equipments. May earth-moving equipments, and there's construction vehicles, then the material handling equipment, and construction equipment. For the earth-moving equipments, so let's have this quick lang siguro kay lang. Don't feel like ng definitions magud siya, and I know fourth year na mo. Most of you don't like this type of mga discussions. So let's have this quick. Excavator. Excavator is a construction vehicle used to excavate or move large objects. So from the word itself, it excavates. Excavator probably is the most commonly used machine in the construction industry. So for constructions, even two-story mga commercial buildings and residential, mao din na ito makita na agit tayo excavator. Kay lisod kayo magmano-mano og excavate. Lugi ta sa manpower. Excavator mostly commonly used machine in construction industry, used for digging of trenches, for drainage systems. We need excavators. For demolition, usahay mogamit sa excavator, but ang atong head is ilisa na to og breaker, kana ganing marag tinidor, not tinidor, but kana single piece na wala man na siya na apilan eh. Sige lang. Breaker ang its main purpose is to break rocks or stones na hindi kaya sa excavator. Material handling, general grading, landscaping, brush cutting with hydraulic attachments, forestry work, lifting and placing of pipes, mining, and river dredging. Usahay mausay gamiton sa maglimpyo og mga sapa. Now we have here an excavator. Atong nailhanaw kay bako ora gyud. Basta naingin ani bako naman na siya. Lahi siya gligid. So this one, general term is excavator. Grader. Grader is a construction machine with a long blade used to create a flat surface. It is commonly called in names such as road grader, a blade, a maintainer, and motor grader. Amo na lang basa ng uban. Amo na siya atong grader. So this is mostly used in road construction para mag-flatten sa atong mga base course. Yung napunta na. Then the loader. A loader is a heavy equipment machine frequently used in construction industry. Load material. So from the name itself again, load materials, loader. Ano siya? Ang naka-advantage ni loader is dako siya og capacity. Pwede nimo siyang imong excavator, then iyang ibalhin ang material nga excavate to a certain distance. So unlike sa backhoe, gamay ra man to siya og boom. Kung gamay ra sa material nga iyang makuha. Skid loader. So kani si skid loader kay manghud ni kaning loader. Gamay ra siya. Wala kayo nagamit sa construction siguro ani. Kay mostly iyang capacity is gamay lang. Marag sayang sa budget. Wala kayo nagamit ani. Kanina si crawler loader. So mostly atong makitaan sa site is mga inganani ang ligid. So this is very useful. Kuan siya. Dali man siya i-maneuver if naatay mga landfill na ang atong bulk na kaya itong materials nga gi-excavate. So kani siya, pwede ra siya mutangas, pwede ra madulhob. Dali ra ang pag-maneuver. Then the backhoe. Si backhoe gid ang always na ito makita. Kaya siya man ang pinaka sa pangalan na mag-complete na siya ba. So we have here na excavator, na loader sa likod. So, bali-bali. And then na mga model karon na pwede ra ilisan ra og head. Kani ilisan ang stick. Nanay daghang bag-o na models for heavy equipments. Bulldozer. Nagsana lang kay tamo kakita og bulldozer siguro karon. Crawler with a substantial metal plate used fitted to push large amounts of soil, sand, dirt, other materials. Trencher. Kani ambot wa po kita ni sa personal, but these are used to kanang mga drainage systems. Kanang magbuhat og dagko nga canals. Mao siya gamiton. Kaya kung makitaan sa kanang mga drainage is ang gigamit pag excavate backhoe lang. Ang cons anang backhoe is that if you have existing pipes imong operator is danghagamay o mabuslot ang existing pipes, makabayad ka sa MCWD and daghan pa yun mo reklamo nga homeowners kaya na wala ang agas o yun anak. Usa sa mga challenge if drainage system ang project. And the scraper, ambot na pa ba ni? Large piece of equipment used in mining, construction, agriculture, and other earth-moving application. So, maura gihapon ni siya kuan. Punon ra ni siya kani siya. This marag head niya. If mapuno na sa material din, ibalhin, iduotra na ni siya hydraulic direct gamay. Daraday. So, i-push niya, mayabo ang material din, balik. Wheeled loading shovels. Mura na gyapon siya loader. Construction vehicles. These are the common na mga trucks nasa tong site. The tippers. Kalahian sa tippers o sa dump truck is that ang tippers is imo lang itip gamay mayabo siya diri sa ubos. Whereas the dump trucks, ang kanig yung tibuok niya nga sa tawag niya sa likod. It's an open jump. Basta kani siyang likod. Ima siyang iabo tibok. Unlike ani nga i-tilt lang. So mudagan na ito yung mga materials like gravel or unsay imong butana or gravel, sand or katong mga na-excavate. The trailer trucks o purchase kag materials sanggaran mga trailer man dere may gamiton. Tanker used for liquefied gas. Mga big construction companies na standby nga trailer tanker so, para dili sila mahutdan og gasolina or diesel for their trucks. And for nasa mga concrete suppliers, nasa sila tanker for water. So labi na og mag-on-site mixing. They need tanker. Kanang nasa bukid, layo na kayo. Then ang ilang planta is nasa Mandawi and Talisay. Then if naa sila yung mga project to south or north, layo. Like Sibunga, Karkar. If i-travel na nila from Cebu City to Karkar, mugahi naman na ang concrete. So they have to mix on site. Naana sila yung mga tanker dito sa tubig. Magkuha na ang uban na magkuha ng tubig sa sapa. So if fugaw ang tubig sa sapa, depende na sa inspector. But dili unta na siya advisable yun. Yan ay uban nga magdali-dali at magkuha tubig sa sapa. Yan, nailapok. Baka itong mga present nga na late, at lang i-update later. Yes, nasa ta. Then mga mga trucks, then material handling equipments, we have the crane. Common kayo ni si crane, labi na og high-rise buildings. Now we have tower cranes, kani siya tower crane. And we also have mobile cranes, katong mga gagmay lang, mga 10 tons ba na? Or not really sure if pilay capacity ng mga mobile crane. Cranes are commonly employed in the transport industry for the loading and unloading of goods. Pwede na ito gamiton mag-transport og kabilya adto sa 10-story, adto sa 5th story kabilya or mga cement na other materials. Conveyors, I don't think makakita ta kung mga conveyors sa construction. Siguro mga DIY conveyors lang. So, mga gagmay lang ang pangbutang. Mechanism sa conveyors is just like ang nasa mga mall, ang nasa cashier, ang madagan na yung material, imong pinalit na ito sa cashier. Or kanang na example. Kanang nasa Apo Cement, treadmill. Correct. Yung ana mechanism ang conveyor. Hoist is a device for raising or lowering a load by means of a drum or wheel lift to which wraps the rope or chain. So, sample sa hoist kani. Ano siya? Hoist is used in construction adto sa kanang for mo support sa atong mga lift. So natin, if taas na kayo atong building, let's say we have 30 stories na building. So we need lifts good or kanang mga temporary nga elevator. Uban unsay tawagan na nila sa Bisaya. Lift ra man akong nailhan. At kani siya. Ang nag-support ani niya sa babaw is kanilang or naimas dako ani. This one capacity ko ani is 500 to 1,000 kilograms lang. So pila ra na katawo ang pwede masakay. And nasa tayo lift for materials. It depends sa diskarte sa contractor. Forklift para ma-arrange og tarong ang materials. Forklift is a powered industrial truck used to lift and transport materials. Forklift trucks are available in many variations and load capacities. Nasa na sila yung mga if pila ilang capacity nga pwede ra alsa. If mag-overload pag ka na mura na siya mayabo. Kasagaran ato na siya sa mga warehouse si forklift. Di na siya mosulod na to sa construction na field yet sa warehouse na ni siya. Another construction equipment, so concrete mixer. We have here one bagger, nasa half bagger mixer. In fact, natay half bagger mixer sa kuan sa tong department nasa CMT ni Ma'am Aida. So natay electric to siya. Dili naman sa tay gasoline type. Then we have electric na ni Ma'am Aida, half bagger mixer. Then nasa tay kani wala ta sa department ani, dako ra kay ni. This is for concrete ready mix concrete na mga plants. Mixing truck. Compactor. Naay daghang type sa compactor. Na si plate compactor. Kagamay sa drawing. So plate compactor kani siya. Plate ang ilaw. Then roller roller kini natay gamay. Then asa tay mga kaning dagko roller. Say tawagan niya pison. Jumping jack. Mo din ni jumping jack kana maguyog-uyog gani. These are commonly used sa mag-compact kuan ari sa mga footing. Ang uban kay maghimora DIY maghimorag slab nga gamay butangan og steel. Then maoray ipaalsa-alsa sa labor para makompact. Darada yung plate compactor. Plate ang iyang ilaw. Jumping jack. Kaning. Untol-untol. Paver. A paver is an engineering vehicle used to lay asphalt. Kita na siguro may ani. Kanang na mag-asphalt, mag-asphalting sa inyo. Ibugaran na niya sa ilawom din. I-pave niya ang asphalt. Pinakadali mahuman ang karsada if mag-asphalting ra diretso. But ang iyang span, lifespan is naiuban, hindi matarong og bati ang base is 1 year, wala na. Nabi na og dagko nga truck ang maagi. So mubo ra og lifespan ang asphalt. Taas og lifespan ang asphalt if i-pave siya above sa concrete pavement. Nindot manggod padaganan og sakyanan ng asphalt kaysa concrete, kaya ang concrete is murag nag-vibrate yung sakyanan labi na wala na tarong finish na contractor ang pavement. Road rollers, so mana niya itong pison mo vibrate sa niya feature nga ma-vibrate siya while compacting. Tunneling equipment, road headers. Wala takita ni sa Cebu. Wala ko kita ni sa Cebu. Maybe nagamit og ingon-ani pagbuhat sa kanang mga tunnels na to sa SRP og sa Mambaling. Tunnel boring machine. This one, kakita ko sa video, nagamit ato nay tunnel boring machine ang Philippines gikan sa Japan ata to. Gigamit for MRT Moton santo nga MRT. Basta magnapa siya karon siguro sa NCR. Common construction tools. Bolster. It's like chisel, but it is used to cut bricks. So for bricks, bolster. Boning bands, boning rods. Wood rin siya, himong T. So sa construction, pwede raman din maghimuginani, pwede raman kanang marag rebars nga giputol-putol din butangan og nylon. O gamito na siya for layout for butterboards. Brick hammer. Cut bricks. Bump cutter. Bump cutter is used to level the concrete surfaces like concrete floors, foundation. It's called screed. So kaning screed, with metal screed ni siya. So tagsam tagakita og ingon ani kay kasagaran sa kanang nasa karsada is DIY na po na sila, mga si 4 lanes ra or kanang tubular nga pipes. Butangan ra gingon ana para na siya mo level ang kanang magbuhos concrete pouring. Excuse me. Mo level ang concrete. So nasa tayo mga mechanical na screed. Wala man dere. Chisel, generally used in woodworks. Sa Bisaya ani gani. Igib. Makadungog ramuan na if istorya mo mga foreman or mga construction workers. Nandun sad nga makailaman ni kay at least kabalo mo para asa na sila. Circular saw used to cut the wood boards. So, gamit na siya pang cutting sa atong mga formworks. Tingib. Concrete mixer, nabalik naman sa niya lagi. Crowbar, mabara ra ni siya. Digging the ground. So for if mano excavate, we need crowbar. Pero kung crowbar ngayon ani is gamay ra kayo. Katong dagko nga hinimo na. Remove the roots of trees in the ground, nails, etc. So naasad na siya ay mutangtang og nail. Kani siyang ulo sa crowbar. Digging bars. Kanina pa excavate. Drill machine. For DIYers, gamit na siya. For carpenters nga tool, drill. End frames. L-shape frames. Ano na siya example. Dili man kaya na siya makita agad sa actual. Float. Palita. Sila yung tawag ani. Ang trowel o ang float kay pareha raman og Bisaya, palita. Float is made of wood which is used to smoothen the plastered surface. So pang finishing. Gloves. Handsaw. This one. Headpan. So, para dok-dok sa ulo sa trabante, tapulan. Ito. Pwede na siya gamiton kung mano-mano o excavate, pwede mano-mano labay ang soil sa gawas. If gamay lang ang project, pero dako-dako po. Grabe man gamit pag headpan. The hoe is also used to excavate soil. Pang garden na lang niya siya eh. Jack plane. So, planer. Say, Bisaya ni. Masilya ba? So, wala. Nasad kayo na gamit ng mga syudad. Sa kuan siguro, sa province. Gamit pa sila mga yan ani. But, high-tech naman ron. Naman tayo grinder. And si grinder, pwede man na to balahan o kuan. Planer katong liha. Ladder. line and pins for staking. Yellow, no? But masindot sa okay sa side ang kanya visible, at least visible kaya siya. Mas Mason square. So for kaan lang angle nga leveling. Measuring box. Kani wala na kay nagamit kay mga pinamay na sad kayo atong mga foreman and laborers. So, wala na ko kabantay ani sa mga site nga kung masuruyan. Walay magyunani kay diretso na lang. Half sa sako sa semento, half inana na lang ilang measure. So, mas nindot og ingon ani on kay para sakto gid ang mixing. So na siya sukod 0.3 by 0.3 by 0.4. Measuring tape. So civil engineers must have this for checking. Kung mag-inspection ta, maurigid niya itong dalhon. Si measuring tape o si camera o si level nga gamay. Pwede ra gud magdag level nga kanang ruler kada ka. Measuring wheel. So, gamit kani if you're assigned to assign sa project for roads. Kapoy nakatry ko ani class gamit og measuring wheel for roads. Wala ra baklay ra ka sa karsada, zukod. And survey every 20 meters. Yeah, left and right na site for profile leveling. Wala din na apil ang mga mga theodolite, total station, mga surveying tools na to. Pickaxe at sa plumb bob this one. Gamit gyapon kayo ni. Check nato sa level sa vertical kung bagay siya, vertical bagay siya. Let's say for the columns. So for columns, if mag-check ko is mag-require jud ko og plumb bob or bisag DIY nga plumb bob sa contractor. O hindi man na rebars lang ya butangag bato, plumb bob naman siya. Polisher. So polisher is used to smoothen the surface of tiles. Para pang limpyo na ni finishing. Limpyo sa tiles para check na for acceptance. Pati knife for painting. Kanang mag-apply pa kag pati. Earth hammer man earth hammer. Earth hammer siya kas. Rubber boots. Siyempre, di ta kalikay, mag-ulan. Alapok yun ang site. Samot na wala pa ka nahuman sa if napaka sa foundation. You need rubber boots. And also, need yung datong safety boots. Safety glasses. Then hard hats, safety helmet. Sunscreen. For ginagmay lang na project. So atong screen atong sad kay inigpalit na anay mga dagko na masagol. But if dagko na atong project, so no need na mag sunscreen. Palit na lang tag ready mix concrete. Scratchers. So this is for gamit ni siya para natay bond sa ato ang plaster. So atong plaster should be 2 coats. So first coat, then atong applyan og scratchers. Parang atong next coat is mopilit gid siya. Dili siya marag mapakpak kalit. Sledgehammer used when the ground is hard and contains rock layers. Luoy kayo atong labor ani itong paggamit ng sledgehammer. Spade. Pala ramang gud na, no? Level. Ang sa kani. Need sa din na to. If we inspect our sites, we need kato tape measure, kaning level. And for documentation, camera always. Brushes, tile cutters, trowel, palita gyapon. Vibrator. Kailangan na mag-vibrator ha, kasi lahi imong nyo huna-huna. Concrete vibrator, para ni siya mo-compact sa atong concrete. Para walay ampaw, walay honeycombs. Compact concrete by this. The air gaps are filled with water and workability varies without adding water to it. Right? So, kaning taas. Meron siyang metal, round metal pipe. Ito ni siyang kuhan sa concrete. Ang tanaw lang tag video later. Then wedge. So concrete or steel nga wedge is natay gusto bukon mas dali. Gamit og wedge if gaya kayo. Wheelbarrow, transport materials manually. Maura to. And I have here a video of how the cranes work. Ma-share ba ang audio? Try na ko kung saan pag-share sa audio.
Equipment more essential.
Madungog din yung audio.
Mayroon, sir.
Heavy lifting machines dominate city skylines, hoisting materials and
Kana, madungog ko lang yan. Okay, thank you. So this is how tower cranes work.
when it comes to building skyscrapers, there is no piece of construction equipment more essential than the tower crane. These heavy lifting machines dominate city skylines, hoisting materials and machinery to some of the highest construction sites on Earth. They have become a part of everyday life in almost every major city as contractors race to build high-rise after high-rise, and more than 100,000 can be found in operation around the world at any given time. Despite how common tower cranes are, they often seem to appear in the sky out of nowhere, leaving many of us wondering how they got there in the first place. The vast majority are erected using mobile cranes.
Saan pag-share mo? Naman siguro ni share ang audio. Share sound.
Cranes that are larger in size. Contractors race to build high-rise.
Okay na? Sug na? Okay.
Oh, sir. Got it, sir.
Okay. Tingnan mo eh. Sino to?
When it comes to building skyscrapers, there is no piece of construction equipment more essential than the tower crane. These heavy lifting machines dominate city skylines, hoisting materials and machinery to some of the highest construction sites on Earth. They have become a part of everyday life in almost every major city as contractors race to build high-rise after high-rise, and more than 100,000 can be found in operation around the world at any given time. Despite how common tower cranes are, they often seem to appear in the sky out of nowhere, leaving many of us wondering how they got there in the first place. The vast majority are erected using mobile cranes that are larger in size, but obviously this can't always be done when you are building a record-breaking structure, and taller cranes simply don't exist. Some construction sites in dense urban areas may not have enough space for a large mobile crane either, and many projects also require tower cranes to be erected in stages so that they rise in unison with the constructed portion of the building. In these scenarios, the cranes must raise themselves to the final working height all on their own using a method known as climbing, and that is what we will be looking at in today's video. In general terms, Climbing a tower crane simply refers to the process of adding or removing sections of the mast in order to increase or decrease the overall height. The concept is fairly straightforward in principle, but it is quite difficult to execute safely in the field, with catastrophic consequences if anything should go wrong. It is one of the most dangerous operations that can be performed with a tower crane, and it is only carried out when absolutely necessary to complete a project.
Good grammar and spelling are important, but if you want to write essays that inspire, messages.
Before climbing can begin, a tower crane must first be erected to an initial height using a suitable mobile crane. The process begins by constructing a stable foundation, which usually consists of a large concrete slab reinforced with steel rebar, and this takes place about a month before the crane goes vertical, so that the concrete has enough time to cure. Once the concrete has reached its full strength, the first steel truss section of the mast is lifted into place, and it is secured with anchor bolts that are embedded in the foundation. Additional sections are then stacked on top of one another to complete the tower portion.
So, na siya klasahang si tower crane na na siya iyahang kaugalingon na foundation. So, si structural engineer may mo-design na nga foundation. Ay dili na siya that's a specialty work. Dili na siya basta-basta kay mahugno gani na to ang crane na nagitatanan.
Foundation. Additional sections are then stacked on top of one another to complete the tower portion of the crane, and they are fastened together with high-strength steel bolts. The mast is topped off with a slewing unit, which is basically a turntable that allows the top of the crane to rotate, and this serves as a base for the operator's cab and lifting components. The exact arrangement of the top assembly varies depending on the type of tower crane, but the one shown here has a hammerhead configuration, with a cathead and a fixed jib that cannot be moved up or down. The cathead is the first component to be installed on top of the slewing unit, followed by the counter jib and working jib, and these are connected with steel tie rods that help to transfer loads to the mast. Once the top assembly is complete, a counterweight is then added to the counter jib, which normally consists of several concrete slabs. The counterweight helps to balance the load when the crane is performing a lift, effectively reducing the bending moment, or torque, that must be carried by the mast. Since the working jib is fixed on this particular crane, a trolley system must be used to adjust the radius of the hook so that the load can be positioned closer or further from the mast. This is not the case for luffing jib tower cranes, however, as they can adjust the radius simply by raising or lowering the working jib. In either
On natay one type of tower crane natay fixed jib na sa tay luffing jib. Ang luffing jib is pwede siya masaka vertically. But si fixed jib is horizontal ang iyang movement.
other case, the ability to change the position of the load makes it possible to perfectly balance the crane on top of the mast, and this is essential for the climbing process to be carried out safely. When a tower crane is ready to be climbed, a steel climbing frame is first assembled around the base of the tower, and it is lifted up to the underside of the slewing unit. The frame has a square cross-section with a lattice structure around three sides, but the front is left open so that new mast sections can pass through. The top is securely fastened to the underside of the slewing unit with high-strength steel bolts, and a hydraulic jack at the bottom is positioned over a push point on the existing mast. A new mast section is then hoisted up to the frame, where it is either placed on a steel tray or suspended from a guide rail that extends out above the opening. At this point, the top of the crane must be perfectly balanced over the jack before it can be lifted, which is accomplished by placing a weight on the hook to offset the counterweights. An additional mast section is typically used for this, and it is positioned at a precise radius from the mast so that there is no net moment applied under the climbing frame. The crane top essentially behaves like a large balance scale during the climb, and it could topple off the mast if its center of gravity is not in line with the jack. In addition, the climbing frame is not designed to carry significant torsion, and it is extremely important that the crane is not slewed during the climbing process. The new mast sections are therefore arranged in a straight line on the ground to eliminate any need to rotate the crane, and the operator will usually leave the cabin during the climb so that the crane cannot be slewed accidentally. Once the crane is confirmed to be in balance and all safety checks have cleared, The hydraulic cylinder is then pressurized to take the weight of the crane top, and the slewing unit is unbolted from the top of the mast. The cylinder is used to lift the climbing frame along with the top of the crane until there is enough clearance to insert a new mast section, which usually requires several strokes depending on the cylinder's length. The mast section can then be maneuvered inside the frame, where it is bolted to the underside of the slewing unit, and the hydraulic cylinder is depressurized so that the bottom of the new section engages with the top of the existing mast. After the joints are securely fastened, the cylinder is retracted and repositioned on the next push point, and the whole cycle can repeat until the crane reaches the desired height. Once the process is complete, the climbing frame will either be lowered down the mast or removed entirely until it is needed to raise the crane higher or to bring it back down at the end of construction. Now up to this point, we have only talked about tower cranes that climb externally on the outside of a building. However, they can also climb internally on the inside of a building. In this scenario, the weight of the crane is carried by the constructed portion of the building, which can increase the lifting capacity and reduce costs by eliminating the need for a tall mast. The process begins in the same way as before by erecting a crane on top of a concrete foundation, but the tower must now include a climbing section at the bottom that will be used to lift the crane later on. As the building is constructed around the mast, two steel collars are installed approximately 3 stories apart, which connect the crane to the building's structural system. Climbing rails extend between the collars down the inside of the open shaft, and these provide support for a hydraulic jack that is positioned inside the mast climbing section. When the crane is ready to be climbed, the tower is unbolted from the foundation, and the hydraulic cylinder is pressurized to take its weight. The cylinder is then used to lift the crane upwards until the bottom of the mast reaches the first collar, while around.
So for this type of crane, usually, common din na siya if ang atong tower crane nasa sulod sa atong building, ato gina siya sa elevator shaft. So kanang sabi kani siya nga frame is gamito na for elevator. If magkuha na ta, if ato nang i-dispatch atong tower crane, then kani nga part is the elevator. And kani siya, this one would be mass concrete. So buhusin na siya.
Ratcheting system ensures that the crane cannot fall back down the shaft. As additional floors are added to the building, a third collar is installed 3 stories above the first 2, and the crane can then be lifted from the bottom collar to the middle one. At this point, the bottom collar is no longer needed, so it is removed and relocated another 3 stories above, thus allowing the whole process to be repeated as the building stretches higher. When construction is finally complete, the tower crane will either be disassembled using a larger mobile crane, or a smaller crane will be hoisted to the top of the building that can be dismantled by hand once the tower crane is removed. Tower cranes play an essential role in countless construction projects all around the world, and their ability to climb upwards entirely on their own means there is virtually no limit to how high we can build. These awesome machines always get the job done safely and efficiently, just like the sponsor for today's video, NordPass.
Bakit to? May panguntahan na, pila ka oras mama. Depende sa skill sa imong rigger. Depende sa skill sa imong operator. Is it always 3 stories, sir? No. It depends on the recommendation of your structural engineer nga nag-design sa imong framing. So, if pwede man ang atong collar is adto sa 2 story, Napa isa ka video, i-play na lang nila to. This is how to use the vibrator.
Concrete poured must be compacted so that it gives the structure the desired strength and durability. The method of compaction is visually demonstrated here. Freshly placed concrete is to be compacted well to make concrete dense and impervious. Compaction can either be done manually or mechanically. Manual compaction is done either by rodding with steel rods or tamping using wooden crossbeams. This method is usually employed for small jobs. Mechanical compaction is done by using vibrators. These are very effective in compacting stiffer concretes, resulting in highly dense and homogeneous concrete which bonds well with the reinforcement. Effective compaction enhances the strength and durability. In most of the RCC works, needle vibrators are used for compaction. Certain care is to be taken while using needle vibrator. The needle of the vibrator should be immersed vertically into concrete and should remain vertical throughout the operation.
So kanatong vibrator always vertical na. Common mistake nga gigamit sa construction is that pag-apply sa vibrator is gipahigda. Kay mas nindot daw ipahigda, labi na magbuhos og slab, mas nindot ang pahigda kay mas smooth daw ang babaw. So tinuod mas smooth ang babaw kay ang water is musaka ang kani atong mga aggregates, kani mga bugat na materials mo sink. So imong imagine ni sink siya paubos ang atong heavy density materials. Kuha na siya, mura na siya ni-segregate sa ubos. So ampaw gihapon na. Ang common mistake na sa construction. So dapat bantayan na ninyo puhon if ginana na mo. So vertical gyud ang application for concrete vibrator.
Concrete at a location should not be vibrated for more than 15 seconds. The needle has to be withdrawn when the air bubbles cease to appear. Vibrator should not be held touching the reinforcement. Tube of the vibrator should not be bent at sharp angles to avoid breaking. The spacing of the vibrator insertion shall be 15 cm for 20 mm needle and 30 cm for 40 mm needle. Effective compaction makes the concrete dense and impervious. Overcompaction leads to segregation. Compacting concrete using vibrators is more effective than manual compaction.
One way to eliminate compaction mga deficiencies is to use katong self-compacting concrete, but here in Cebu is wala kayo naggamit ana since bati pa ang mga supplier, dili sila makahatag og nindot na self-compacting concrete, which is no need na siya i-vibrate unta. Lisod na siya i-achieve food. And then mahal sad na siya. Okay, maybe that's it for today. If you have questions, you can ask. And katong mga na-late, si Candidato, Liena, and Banasio, napailain? Ay, nagdungan man. Sa usa lang.
Group 2, sir. Si Monteclaro Adrian, sir.
Monteclaro. Mara?
Group 1, sir.
Group 2, sir. Monteclaro Adrian.
Si Malcampo, unsa ni nga group? Malcampo, si Tenerife.
Adarna, sir. Group 1.
Kinsa? Adarna?
Group 1, sir.
Lacson, Group 2. Adolfo, 1. Then G1, Morphe, Group 2. Ara? Ang ikaw na, si Adolfo, Group 1, Lacson, Group 2. Adarna, ang sa ka nga group?
Group 1, sir.
1 Tenerife, Group 1 pod.
Yes, sir.
Malcampo, Group 1. Monte Claro, Group 2. Kandidato. Nanawa, nas kandidato.
Basta ko sir, ganiya.
Present ka ganina?
Oh, present man na.
Okay. Si Liena, Group 1. Si Manasio, Group 1. Si Morphy, Group 2. Kasi wala nang tawag. Nga na late. Wala na.
Kapilado sa...
Unsa? Unsa to?
Si Apilado, sir.
Apilado.
Group
Unsa to siya?
1. Group 1, I think.
Sige. So, wala na? Questions? Clarifications?
Kapilado sir.
Okay na, apilado. Questions? Violent reactions? Wala. Kinsa to? Okay, so maybe that's it for today.
Sir, may questions.
Unsa man?
Sa katong mga na-absent sir ba, asan nimo i-post ang mga recorded na discussion sir?
Kuon ra sa module ra gyapon sa Canvas.
So modules?
Makita naman dito. Last time lagi katong recording na to is nawala man. Okay ba asa to gikan? Asa to punta?
Recording stopped.
Okay, maybe that's all for today. Thank you. You can go.
Thank you, sir.